Tape Deck Media.
Hey there, panel pickers. Welcome to an all-new issue of Panel Picks, the show where we talk about new comic book day, old comics, and everything in the geek universe. I'm your host, Dan Mublitz Jr., and with me, as always, is our co-host, Jeremy Plum. How's it going, Jeremy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Good. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. We got to do a show last night together.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
We were in the same venue at the same time.
I know, not like Friday and Saturday. We were at the same city at different times.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah,
we're 1 day apart. Apparently,
mm-hmm.
1 day apart. Yeah, I think it was cool that we got to do a show. We would have loved to record this podcast together, but that just did not work out.
No,
we almost didn't have time to record it all this week.
No, but I will say that there's a certain book that we have here that I promised Nicole that we'd talk about since the start of this podcast. So it's a very important book.
Okay. Well, yeah. All right. Well, we'll be talking about it. I suppose that's one of the new comics coming out, right?
It is.
All right. Well, before we get to there, we got to talk about what we're reading. So let's, without further ado, I guess we'll go right into that.
Yeah.
All right. We're ready for what are we reading? And what are we reading this week?
We both read The One Hand, issue 1.
That's right. Issue 1 of The One Hand. Now, if you've been listening to all the episodes, you know that we talked about reading this book, this series, along with, because it's a unique situation where there's another book called The Six Fingers, which is an opposite perspective. It's the perspective of the serial killer. So this is a crime book. The One Hand is the perspective of the detective. The Six Fingers is the perspective of the serial killer. So that's an interesting concept to take 2 monthly books and have one be the perspective coming from the perspective of the detective, and the other one being the perspective of the serial killer. So it's a unique book in that way.
It is. It really is. And here's the thing. My original thought about this was that it was going to feel incomplete in a way to force you to read the other book. It doesn't. I mean, this book is thick. This book is adless. This book is very dense and feels 100% complete on its own.
Absolutely. And just before we get too far into what we thought of the book, just for people listening or people watching, this is a book by Ram V. He's the writer. The artist is Lawrence Campbell. And then the colorist is Lee Lowridge, and letterer Ataya Bidikar, editor Will Dennis, and other Rich Folka. Plus, there's a bunch of different cover artists, but we don't need to get into those. So that's just a little bit of background. This is a book by Image Comics, and I think there's like 5 or 6 issues out already.
Yeah.
So it's still quick enough to where it's still early in the run where you could easily go get caught up, or you could probably just wait for the trade paperback.
Honestly, yeah. And here's the thing. I would say in some cases, I would say wait for the trade. This felt again like a complete, full. I felt complete and I felt happy finishing the book, and I was excited to wait for the next month. Not in a way that I felt like I needed more book. It just felt like I'm excited for the next episode of a TV show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we're up to 4 issues is where we're at. Issue 5 comes out in June, which is next month. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be the end of I don't see any other issues on the docket to be scheduled to come out. So it's probably just a 5-part miniseries, which is really cool.
Yeah. Have you read any of Ram V's work before?
I mean, maybe. Honestly, truth be told, until we started doing this show, outside of a few writers that I definitely knew their work, I haven't really paid attention to who's writing what until now, And now I'm like, oh, the only writers I really paid attention to before were Tim Seeley, Ed Brubaker, and Tony Fleeks. So
Nice.
I don't know how to say that. Is it Flex or Fleeks?
I've heard Fleeks. I've heard Fleeks.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Fleeks. I feel like that's it because it's Fleecs, Fleeks.
I've seen Lawrence Campbell's work before. I've seen it mostly on The Punisher. I feel like he did the cover art for a PS2 Marvel fighting game. And has this like again gritty, down to earth art for Marvel heroes that I saw a lot in the early 2000s around the Marvel Knights era. And then Ram V I've read before with the Swamp Thing. It had a whole new idea for Swamp Thing that was very engaging. A whole new person became the Swamp Thing, and it was more of a hulking thing. It was really cool. And so I was kind of excited to read Ram V's work. And this is, I don't know, it feels like a new brew breaker. It feels like a new, a new good team coming out of this. It's a fantastic pairing between these two.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to give a little bit of the synopsis of the book. So the description they have is it's neo-novena detective Ari Nasser is about to retire with an inviolable record until a brutal murder occurs, bearing all the hallmarks of the one-hand killer, which should be impossible since Ari already put him away not once but twice before in the years before. What follows is a deadly cat and mouse game as Ari pursues his quarry down the rain-soaked streets of Neo-Novena. Ari will stop at nothing to unravel the secrets and the ciphers of the case, but each revelation only leads further into the dark heart of the future metropolis and Ari's own bewildered soul. So that's the description.
Yeah, it's in that first issue. You get a lot of you know who this character is without a lot of words. You see a retirement party that it seems sad, and the hook is right in front of you. It's a beautiful book, and I don't know. It's just it was exciting, fast, and but also you were saying.
Oh, I was just going to kind of go back to what you were saying about it. Feels like a completed book where you don't need to read the six fingers to get the whole story, which I think that's a very good point that you make, because honestly, if you just read this book without knowing that there's the companion side of it, you wouldn't know there's a companion because they don't really mention it. That's the thing,
Yeah. Not until the preview at the end, like after the last page, like, hey, just so you know, you can get this right now.
Yep.
And I don't know how I want to do this, but it's such a great book. Also, the sci-fi, like they mentioned, new novella, and it's a new area, and you don't realize it until. Spoilers, the kind of big reveal is that there's some sci-fi elements to this.
Yeah, because
there's a holodeck.
It's a futuristic. It takes place in the future. That's the other thing. This is a futuristic crime story,
but it doesn't feel like the future. I
mean, because
honestly,
it's dark and gritty.
It's dark and gritty, and it feels like New York 30 years ago. Like it doesn't.
It does a really good job of blending that.
Yeah,
where there's like subtle elements that make it very, that make it futuristic, but in a lot of ways the art, because the art's dark and gritty, it does. You're right. It feels like New York City 30-40 years ago.
Yeah, it's really cool because again, when you hear futuristic crime noir, you think Blade Runner, and it doesn't try and steal anything from Blade Runner. It just tries to be its own thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I would say, I think personally, this is what I'm going to do now. So since I'm behind on reading anyway, when I get to the series, because I read this one a while ago, but I'm going to read them now that I've got, there's like 4 issues of each out. I'm going to read 1 and 1, 2 and 2. I'm going to go back and forth. So it almost like, to me, I feel like that'll almost be like watching a movie where like you're getting the different perspectives from the character. You're in chapter 1, you get the detective's perspective, and then you get, the antagonist perspective, and then go back and forth.
Yeah, kind of a Ramachad style filmmaking. I I might do that too, and I also might jump between physical and digital.
Well,
like
I won't
have
be
the 6
jumping between
fingers.
physical and digital
No,
because
I
I'm
know you
all
won't.
about physical. I want that physical touch, baby. In
Yeah,
my hands, flipping them pages.
Side note, when we say the book feels thick, also the pages were nice and thick, and the black border made everything feel so narrow and small and cramped.
And I
It
think
was just a good book.
Image did a really good job with this book and just the quality of it. And there
Yeah.
are, as most books these days, there are variant covers of this. So
Yeah.
I think I have one that's yellow, which is kind of
Oh,
cool.
okay.
So I didn't grab a screenshot of it, but yeah. So yeah, I think we haven't talked about this yet, but I think we should give, when we're reading these books together like this and we're talking about what they're about, we should give a rating. What's
Okay.
our POW rating? What's the
Are you-
POW factor?
Uh,
What's out of 5 POWs?
as an issue 1, it's a 5 out of 5 to me. Like, it set up its hook, it tells you who your characters are and what you want from this, and it gives you its stakes right there. Clear, great issue 1.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I just gave it 5 stars on the review on the League of Comic Book Geeks website. So I too would give it 5 out of 5 pals. And I don't know that we have to call it pals. We can think of something better.
I'm
if we
down.
want, but
Yeah.
pals. It's comic.
Woo woo.
I love it. All right. Well, that's what we read this week. Again, there are only 4 issues out right now. Issue 5 comes out in next month, in about 1 month from when this releases. So go check that out, or wait for the whatchamacallit, trade paperback. So now let's get into what's coming out this week. New Comic Book Day.
Woot woot.
Your woot hoots are way too slow.
Woo-hoo! Woot woot.
You always do it right as I hit the thing and it cuts you off. All right, so it's New Comic Book Day. I had a hard time picking some stuff out this week.
Really?
Honest. I'm gonna be honest. It was a little tough.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff that I picked this week isn't stuff that I plan on picking up, but I thought I'd give it, a little bit of coverage on the show.
Fair.
That's where I went with it.
Awesome.
Just because, I didn't see a whole lot that sparked my interest this week. Again, if you know anything about me, that's because I like my independent comic books, and it didn't seem like there was anything real. There's stuff that I've already got coming out, so
yeah, fair.
I didn't see anything really new. But we're gonna kick this off with your first pick, which is Batman Superman World's Finest, number 27.
I've been a big fan of the series. I've been waiting for it since it ever came out, like months before, and I've been getting every issue when it comes out. Mark Waid and Moria have been phenomenal with this art. It feels like, I don't know if you remember this, but back when Neil Adams did the style guide for all the characters, and that became like the definitive way that these characters would be shown in like anything that wasn't comics. That's this art. That's what it feels like now. Like, this is the definitive Batman. Like, if you want to draw Batman and put it on a cup or anything, that's Batman. That's Superman. Like, that's definitively what Superman looks like in my brain.
So where are we in the series? We're issue 27. Is this a place where people could jump in?
Honestly, most of this is. Yeah.
Okay.
What's cool about a lot of times with Batman Superman books is these are shorter stories because you just want to see Batman Superman team up. And a thing that's a bit bigger than both of them, but not Justice League level.
Okay.
And
that's great. That's great.
Yeah. And Mark Waid loves Silver Age storytelling. Mark Waid is fantastic at bringing the wackier side of comics up into the real world, up into people's eyes. This is a bunch of fifth dimensional imps fighting Batman and Superman, and I love that stuff. So get weird, get a little fun. You can jump into this and you'll be okay.
Awesome. All right, let's go. Let's move along. The next one is another one of your picks, Squad. I can't even read. Blood Squad 7. Image Comics.
I'm not gonna lie.
I do like the artwork on that.
It's very Image number 0 book.
Mm-hmm.
Early Image.
It is absolutely. Well, I mean, at 30 years, the
After
brand
30 years,
is
that's the
back.
beginning of Image. And here's the thing: I looked up the writer, Joe Casey, and artist Paul Fry. I'm not particularly well versed in a lot of them. They've done a lot of smaller work with Marvel and Image. And here's the thing: it's about the way they're describing it, deconstruction of superhero nostalgia and characters from decades past coming back into the forefront. And that's a type of story I've always been enjoying, from Project Superheroes, Kingdom Come, Avengers Twilight. All of those are books I like reading. I'm kind of curious if this is a book that's going to deconstruct 90s nostalgia in comics, or deconstruct 90s comics by writer and artist team, but we don't know yet, and could be the beginning of a breakout for them. I'm really interested here.
It definitely has the 90s vibe.
Yeah.
It does, the 90s style.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It should be pretty good.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and it looks like there's some you got some other, incentive covers and variants and things like that. If you're not familiar though, just a quick little the plot, 30 years ago, Blood Squad 7 was America's most popular superhero team. Its members were seen on television, on magazine covers, scoring $1 million endorsement deals. They were celebrities and they were everywhere. But that was then. This is now. And so a new generation of modern-day heroes takes up the mantle, or perhaps the poison chalice, fulfilling a promise made decades ago to be the heroes that a fractured America needs. So... the description continues. While deconstructions of superhero nostalgia typically center around the classic characters, the Silver Age, Blood Squad 7 will dive deep into the 90s, which I think, that's kind of what you talked about. So
that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think that'll be a fun book. That's one I might actually pick up. I might actually pick this one up. All right, my first pick for this week is The Butcher's Boy. I don't know if I'll pick it up. I'm definitely gonna flip through it and take a look at it. The cover is very intriguing. The plot is pretty intriguing. It's deep within the back roads of the Pacific Northwest. An entire town fell victim to a brutal cleaver of the Butcher of La Perdia. But that was more than 100 years ago. And in that time, the generational nightmare of murder and meat has been reduced to morbid clickbait folklore for bored travelers to share online. And yet, says the butcher still haunts the streets at night and seeking fresh meat for his larder. A true Lovecraftian horror, or just feverish dreams of a mentally unstable serial killer. Six friends on the road trip are about to find out. So if you like horror, this could be a fun book. If you like the horror books, it does seem like it could be a fun book. I'm not always into horror, but like I said, the cover really intrigued me. So
it kind of reminds me of Nailbiter. Yeah, like I'm down for this. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the creative team. It's Larry Q. Walker, and the artist is John Greenwood. So, but it looks fun. There's some variant covers, as there always are.
Yeah.
It's a number 1, so you can get right in there from the beginning. Which that's what I always like. That's why I like to feature some of these books, because when they're a number 1, it's easy to get right in there, start from scratch. Now this is not a number 1 coming out, but this is one that I'm very excited about. Cobra Commander number 5. I've been having a good time with this book. There have been a lot of great little Easter eggs and crossovers and just fun. If you were ever a fan of G.I. Joe, there's a lot of fun stuff from G.I. Joe popping up, just from being a kid in the 80s in general. I highly recommend this book. I've been enjoying it so far. I think this is one, I might be one book behind on this, but I'm been trying to keep pretty caught up on this book. So maybe I'm one behind, maybe I'm not. I'd have to go double check, but I'm excited for this because, like I said, it's been a really good book. A lot of fun stuff. So, and it's only issue 5, so it'd be easy to catch up.
It's easy to jump in, yeah.
Yep.
There might be a trade already, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Depends on how many. I doubt it's a trade already, because this is probably a mini series.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because a lot of times when they do these mini like books like this, it is a mini series, and they won't put out the trade until after it's over. But that being said, I mean, it could be an ongoing series, but I don't think it is. Nope, this is the miniseries finale. Okay.
Oh, okay,
So
perfect.
here we go. So, yeah, issue 5 is the finale of the series, which means now you could wait for a trade paperback because I'm sure it'll be coming out very soon. So,
Yeah.
super excited for that. Now we're back to another one of your picks. I assume this is the one that that we needed to talk about. My favorite thing is monsters.
Book 2, actually.
Book 2.
So this is being published by Fantagraphs Books. That's why you probably won't see it on League of Comic Geeks, because it's not really an issue. It's a full graphic novel.
Okay.
Yep. So let me paint a picture. Nicole and I take a trip to Chicago, and there's the Chicago Museum of Art. Nicole decides to get us become members so we can go to Chicago Comics taking place in Chicago, and a whole exhibit a day early because it wasn't going to be there. It wasn't going to be there before we left. I'm walking around. I'm seeing stuff about Dick Tracy. I'm seeing stuff about a lot of great comics that I'm really excited about. And then I see this. There's this wall about 7 feet tall with this monster character surrounded by roses and whatnot. And it has beautiful religious imagery in it. And it's all done with a big pen, except for the flowers and stuff that goes 3-dimensional. And it's capturing my eyes. And they even show some of the actual book in its huge panel form. It's drawn really large because it's done with a big pen, and all the details really fine there. Like, you zoom in, it's beautiful. All the hatching is wonderful. And it's the story about a child in 1960 Chicago. And it's mixing religion and monsters in this way. And Nicole bought it, and it ended up being Nicole's favorite book. Nicole doesn't read comics very often.
Oh, wow.
I've been
this has been out. So this has been out for a while. So this isn't coming out. Okay. So
that was book 1.
You should have gave me more of a heads up on that. I thought this was something coming out this week.
So it is.
She bought book 1. I gotcha.
Years
okay.
ago.
Yeah.
And then book 2 is supposed to come out. I did a little extra research. Book 1 was written while the writer and artist Emil Ferris was very sick, and then book 2 it was about to come out. This was before. This was like 3 years ago. All of the art gets lost, including some of the stuff we see at the museum. Like, it gets destroyed. And so we just keep refreshing the date to see when it comes out. Here it is. It's coming out this week.
Finally. It's finally coming out.
And these are 700-page books. These are huge.
That is huge. Jeez.
Yes. And so all the art gets recreated, and it's done from scratch so that we can see book 2. And before you and I start this podcast, I mentioned what the podcast is, Nicole. She goes, you need to talk about this book. More people need to read this book. Read My Favorite Thing is Monsters, book 1, so you can pick up book 2. And I recommend don't pick it up digitally. This is a beautiful, beautiful book that needs to be held in your hands.
Don't pick it up. I would recommend not picking up digitally anytime because, well, you know me. I don't like digital comics.
Fair.
But if you do, that's your prerogative.
It is your prerogative. If you love religious imagery and you love horror imagery and you grew up in that weird intersection of both, like I did, this is going to be a really good book.
All right. Well, and then my final pick is White Boat. Now, I don't think I'll get this because I'm not a fan of the size of these comics, but I will say this. DSTLRY has been putting out, it's a new company that just, I think, started last year.
Yep.
They've been putting out some really good books. They're just a little oversized, which to me means I would need bigger. I've had this conversation with Taryn, the comic book guru at Grand Slam. Shout out to Grand Slam
and with
Comics and Sports Cards. But we've had this conversation about these books. She's a big fan of this company. But a lot of their books look really good. The art looks really good. They look like constructed books, but to me, that means I need bigger bags and boards and bigger boxes, and I'm already running out of room.
Yeah.
So this would be one I would maybe consider doing digital because they're magazine size. That's the deal. A lot of their comics are magazine size, and they're a little more expensive, but you're getting a good deal. Like this one is retail is $8.99, but it's a 48-page book. So
yeah,
you're getting some good stuff out of it. And this particular one, this is the team behind Detective Comics and Night of the Ghoul. Comes this modern horror classic. White boats are the mega yachts that super rich use to travel the globe, floating islands where your every desire can be filled. And getting invited on board one should be a dream come true. That is until the crew traps and transport you to a remote island where secret cults have existed for a millennia. So yeah, could be a fun book.
And Scott Snyder's a phenomenal writer. I read his early Batman stuff. It's fantastic. He's heading up the Absolute Power stuff for the Absolute DC line. Yeah, he's a great writer. So honestly, you're getting a quality comic by a great writer at a good price.
Yep. So yeah, go check that out. And then we're going to do just some honorable mentions. I'm just going to read down the list of some stuff that's coming out this week that we just don't have time to cover in depth. You got Nightwing 114, The Amazing Spider-Man number 50, Superman 14, Ultimate Black Panther number 4, Wonder Woman 9, Star Wars number 6, Catwoman 65, Blood Hunt number 2, X-Men 97 number 3. There's a couple different Green Lantern books. Spider-Gwen, The Ghost Spider number 1, Feral number 3, Thundercats number 4, Local Man number 10, Sam and Twitch Case Files number 3, and a whole lot more coming out this week for New Comic Book Day. So be sure to go check out what's coming out this week. As always, get a hold of us. Tell us what you're excited for. You can email us at that's the wrong podcast. You can email us at panelpicspodcast@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below this video, or you can hit us on all social media, Panel Picks Pod, and we'd love to hear what you're excited for this week. And as always, we need your help to grow the show. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, share the video, tag some friends. If you listen to the podcast as an audio format, make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to it. It helps us tremendously. And yeah, for all my dates, you can go to dbubcomedy.com. I'll be in Sioux Falls, South Dakota on May 23rd, and then on May 24th and 25th, I will be in Brookings, South Dakota. So you can find all the ticket information on dbubcomedy.com and follow me at dbubcomedy. Jeremy, it's all you.
Hey, if you want, follow me on all the social medias that are not X with plum_Jeremy. My website is jeremyplumcomedy.com if you want to know a little bit more about me. And besides that, I'm traveling Midwest in August, so I'll tell you more about that when that happens.
All right. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will be back next week with an all-new issue of Panel Picks. Until then, keep supporting your local comic book shops.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.